Hey everyone, Daryl Eves here, and I am super excited today because we're really going to talk about how to actually grow when you're stuck on YouTube or if you're just starting out, all the little things that you need to truly understand to be successful. Now, my audio seems a little hot. I wanted to check that, so let me just turn that down real quick. It sounds like my mic volume. Here we go. How's that? Is that better? Okay, so we really want to deep dive into this to really help you be successful on YouTube. Now, I do believe that a lot of you are just trying your best and really trying to make it work, and sometimes you don't know what to fix. And the whole goal of these live streams is to be able to help you really be successful on YouTube by bringing people that I mentor, people that are literally exploding right now, and really having them teach you how to be successful. And so we're going to be having an active conversation on things that are going to be really relevant to you for your growth on YouTube. Now, here's the thing. It's really important that you understand this. There are going to be golden nuggets, like little hidden little gems that's going to really help you succeed. And sounds like I'm still clipping, so let me pull it down even more. I just got a new audio setup, so let's try this. Is that better? Hopefully I'm not still clipping on that one. If not, I'll have to adjust this one too. Okay, so, okay. Hopefully that works. I'll look at it here. Lower, lower, lower. So I usually do this a lot. I got a brand new thing. So hopefully, okay, much better. Okay. So I get excited and then I'm like, okay, super clip. Okay, now too soft. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so we're gonna start here. I'm gonna kind of really go more in depth on this. So I want to welcome you guys all out. The whole goal of this live stream, and if you're watching the replay, is to help you be successful on YouTube. And it's when you're actually stuck or, you're trying to figure things out or even brand new. My goal for this is to really help you learn on the things that are truly important that you need to have that instant success on YouTube. Now, there's a lot of things that are out there about doing better thumbnails and, get better attention, but ultimately there's much more to the mechanics of this. And so I thought, do you know what? A couple times a month, I'm going to just jump on, bring my students on, and have their case studies, things that they're doing here right now on YouTube, things that they're learning, and have them teach you from that. Because I think a lot of you can relate to that. I think sometimes when I talk, you're like, oh yeah, that's good for you because you're the YouTube expert and you have, 30 now gold play buttons. I have 30. And it's just like, okay, I get it. But I want to be able to apply people that are actively grinding away just like you here on YouTube and seeing the success from there. So my question for you is, how long have you been on YouTube? Put that in the comments. Also, how many videos have you uploaded? There's the conversation we're going to have today is someone actually jumped on and has been on YouTube for quite some time, and they're trying every little detail, trying to get every little tip to really succeed. And if you're not familiar with the channel, it's called Living on a Dime. They're one of my students that I mentor, and they basically had the journey on YouTube where they were grinding away, uploading over 1,000 videos, trying to succeed on YouTube. Now, that's quite a few videos. I don't even think I've even uploaded 1,000 videos, specifically on this channel, of course. But if you've actually uploaded more videos than 1,000 or a couple hundred or, 10, you're going to get a lot of value. And I want to introduce you to some people that I really love and trust. And it's with Living on the Dime here on YouTube. How you doing, Mike? How you doing, Tara?
You're awesome, Daryl. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm excited for a couple reasons to have you on, and I think that a lot of people on YouTube believe that the only way that you're going to succeed on YouTube if you're a super hot female that's Gen Z, and you're just putting these little clickbait things out there. And ultimately, I do believe YouTube's for the everyday people. I want to kind of hear your thoughts on that a little bit, because I think a lot of people starting out feel like, it's never going to resonate or it's never going to go, and they totally miss the opportunity here on YouTube.
So for us, this year it will be 25 years since I first wrote the cookbook, my Dining on a Dime cookbook. And for us, it was an extension of our business and to promote our cookbook and to sell our cookbooks. And so we started as a how-to channel, believe it or not.
Well, we've been doing how-to on our website for a long time.
Yeah.
And our newsletter.
Yeah. And so we went into how-to videos is what we did. And so we were trying to show people how you can save money, but still have a good life, even if you don't have a high income. But what we quickly discovered is people don't want that. They actually want to spend money. They don't want to save money. And that sounds crazy. But when you think about it, all of the bloggers and YouTubers, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this at all. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. But if you notice, all of the people telling you to save money are telling you to save money by buying something.
Yeah, I love that.
So
and when did you come to that realization? Because I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions of what people want. And when did you have kind of that aha moment?
Actually, it was fairly early on, but we weren't sure how to fix it because even though we knew that we didn't want to promote products that got people into more debt because we were about getting out of debt and staying out of debt, we weren't sure how to fix it to make our business grow, but not go against what we believed about staying out of debt totally. And so I didn't feel right promoting things like an Instant Pot on sale or whatever,
Right.
And so for us, it was just a real, we were just having a really hard time trying to figure out how to balance the two to where we could make an income for our family, but not go against what we believed about staying out of debt.
But some of those, even though a lot of those things were not things lines we really wanted to cross, there were some things that mentally to us were lines that we thought we don't really want to cross this line, but in reality, there was nothing really wrong with it. And eventually we realized, like putting ads on the channel, I think for a while we were thinking, wow, should we be doing that kind of thing? It was like there's something wrong with that. But then we realized,
that mentality is like, wait, we're taking advantage of people, but yet you're putting a lot of time, energy, and money to produce content, and then in your mind you're like, oh, well, we can't charge for that. We're trying to help people to save money instead of make money. And
Sure.
so I do love the mindset shift, because I do believe that for you to actually succeed on YouTube, you have to have the right mindset and you have to have the right focus, because once you have that focus and that mindset, then it helps you really have clarity on your path. And I want to actually ask you a couple of questions, because you started out in the blogging space, and you did that for several years. And then you're like, okay, well, YouTube's a thing. Let's start using videos, and we can actually do how-to videos similar to what we're doing on the blog. And so you were reliant on a traffic source called search. And did you feel like, hey, we're a master at this, we understand what people are searching, and did it bear fruit? Like, were you succeeding on both the blog and YouTube?
It was improving our blog when we figured out about search, and we figured out about trying to figure out what people are looking for and to craft the content so that it reaches those keywords and key phrases. When we started YouTube, we did apply the same principle, and it didn't really work quite in the same way.
I wonder why. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, and actually, it's interesting because we were doing everything off YouTube, and then YouTube came out, and I was a TV producer, and so we thought, hey, I have equipment, we kind of know how to make videos. And we discovered that was also not at all like YouTube.
Yeah.
And so we got on YouTube, we made 4 or 5 videos.
This was in 2007. So we actually started YouTube in 2000, this new thing, and we did 5 videos. Well, he's a video producer. And what people don't
set up like a whole TV studio and did all this crazy stuff.
It would take us like our biggest video is my mom showed how to fold a fitted sheet. And
that was one we didn't want to do.
And we didn't want to do it. We were just doing it honestly to humor my mom. I'll be perfectly honest. We were just like, okay, whatever. Who wants to know how to fold a fitted sheet? And she's like, no, I really think people would want this. But here's the thing. It took us like 8 hours
Yeah.
to shoot that 2-minute video.
Yep.
And we did 5 videos and we were like, you know what? We literally 20 views.
We were
This is not
completely
worth
shooting
it.
in the
Yeah.
dark. We were like, let's just do a video on this and let's do a video on that.
Well, and I do believe that's where a lot of people, they see an opportunity and they're like, oh, we could do this and we can do that and we can go here and we can go there. And this is what people want. And this is what we don't know that they want, but we think they do. And so I think a lot of people don't have a strategy going into it. And you all both know how much I'm about strategy, and you know how much that we go into planning and preparing and really understanding where we're going. But I want to switch gears real quick, because I do believe that when people are uploading as many videos as you've done, and not seeing success to the point where you really feel like, oh, it's really taking off or having growth. But I mean, when we were going into your analytics, I mean, you'd have some ups and some downs and some sideways and then some, kind of going down. And this is kind of the state that where I met you. And what I love about this is I do believe a lot of content creators feel the same way. Hey, I have been trying my hardest on YouTube. I've been putting energy and effort and time and money into these videos. Maybe not producing, up to 8 hours for a 2-minute video anymore, but you've been putting a lot of energy into it, and you're not seeing the success. And I want to ask you a little deeply about what were you doing? I knew you were kind of grasping at straws, trying to find that secret thing that needed to happen. So kind of talk about that journey a little bit, because I think that will resonate with a lot of people watching this live stream, because I think that they might be in the same situation that you were in.
So
actually, before we start that, we did the first group and then we didn't do any videos for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we realized that fitted sheet video was going crazy. So then we thought, oh, maybe it was a mistake leaving YouTube. Let's go back there and we'll do some videos and see if we can figure out how to make one go viral. That was kind of what everybody was talking about then. And so, and we had some others that had done, they didn't do great, but over a lot of years, they got some views because of the SEO.
Right.
But
No people were searching. You had that traffic that was coming in. People watched the video.
So then we decided, let's go ahead and try again. And that's where we kind of got into it. We produced a lot of things for a long time that weren't doing much.
Well, so what we did was we started with the how-to videos.
Yep.
And then my mom raised 2 teenagers on $500 a month. And so we decided to do 1 or 2 videos with her talking about how she actually did that. And it turned into a 36-part series over like 2 years or something. And what happened was we flipped our audience.
Right.
And we didn't mean to do that.
Well, I mean, I think at the time you didn't know any better. And you're like, hey, here's some content that we love. You're putting out 30, 40 videos in that because you're like, hey, this is important to me because I was one of those kids, and I want people that are in hard situations to realize, hey, here's the value. This is what you can get from it. But you mentioned that you flip the audience. And so I want to dig deeper into this because this is really important to unpack. I know that a lot of content creators on YouTube are grasping at straws, trying to find that secret thing of what's going to succeed. So what were those things for you? I don't think we need to talk about any more of, hey, getting up to that point, but the point where you're like stalled out and you feel like you couldn't go any further without something popping.
Yeah. So what happened was we tried the series with Mom. We tried more how-to videos.
Then desserts at holidays.
We tried recipe videos because of the cookbook. People like the cooking. Then this new thing called YouTube Live came out. So then we started doing live videos. And what we realized was people really liked just talking to us. And so the lives actually started doing really well. And the
compared to what we had before.
Yeah. And the live is what actually started us going up going up. And so then we were like, well, okay, they're telling us they want these videos and they want that video. So we kept trying this video and that video. And frankly, we just couldn't make any ground.
Yeah,
we really couldn't.
We were really going with comments from people. They would just say, oh, I really like this. We'd like to see more of this. And then we would make that and nobody would watch it. And we would be frustrated.
Yeah. And so then what happened was COVID hit, or that thing going around hit.
Right.
And I started doing some how to cope with that. Like we did prepping for pooping. And we did what to do when you have no hand sanitizer. And then I started doing more of those. And those videos really started taking off.
So let's stop right there. So you're just kind of grasping at straws, basically, and you're like, "Hey, I'm passionate about this month or whatever," and then you go from there. And I mean, you uploaded 1,000 videos, like at that time, well over 1,000 videos, 1,000 videos plus, and you're just kind of whatever that you felt was necessary. And I think a lot of content creators fall in this trap when they first start out, and then some just stay in that trap where they can't succeed. I mean, they see a little bit of success and they're saying, "Oh, I'm just waiting for that one little thing to take off." And what I love, and this is what I want everyone to see, is this graph. Is you had videos that were starting to take off, and then you didn't, and then it came back down, and then you had videos that take off and then down. That's kind of one of the indicators I look at when I kind of analyze a channel and go into depth. And it pretty much told me that you were actually splitting your viewer. And then more importantly, this is something that most YouTube consultants really don't dive deep in. I think they're doing more now, but it's like this from day one. I've been really, really adamant of knowing your viewer and understanding the dynamics and the value proposition that's there. And then two, I can tell that you had a bad content strategy. And so I know that that's kind of harsh when it comes to, that, but you reached out to me. You actually became one of my students. I started to mentor. And then there was a kind of a shift. And I want to not necessarily, I want you to help people. What was that shift in your mind first? And then two, what were you looking at very specifically differently once you started to understanding the way that YouTube really, really operates?
One quick thing before we tell that part, I will say a lot of people can really relate to this, that Tara particularly, we would go through and she would see people that we've been doing this for years. We've been grinding out a lot of videos. We've been taking people's advice that are commenting in the comments that we think are followers, and we've been making videos. And she would see somebody start up and they would shoot past us completely and become a lot bigger channels and be doing things. And she would just say, "I'm so frustrated." And we would work really hard. And then all of a sudden she'd say, "That's it, I quit." And then so for a little while, she would not kind of want to do much with it because she was frustrated. And then all of a sudden something would start taking off and we'd go back toward it again. So it was like this evil slave master.
He's like, "Oh, we had a video take off. Let's do this. We got this." And then it drops. And you're like, "Oh."
Yeah. Well, down deep, I knew we could do it. But frankly, I think we're at like 1,600 videos right now that we've uploaded. Quite frankly, we're tired. I mean, it's not just you shoot a video and it just does its own thing, Right. And so
I think that's the mistake a lot of people make. They say some kid can just turn on a phone and do something, and they just expect it to work.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, I'm sorry. What was your question again? You had a specific question.
So what was kind of those aha moments, as you started to understand YouTube the right way? Because I think a lot of people assume a lot of things about YouTube. Yeah. But as I started to mentor you, what was those aha moments for you of your priority of what you needed to start focusing in on before you start seeing success? It's like, okay, now we're going to do it. We're trusting Daryl. Like, what are those elements?
So for us, we saw the prepping emergency videos kept doing really well. So all the spikes that you saw in our graph, those were all my prepping videos, and all the down ones were my recipe videos and daily frugal living type videos. And so as soon as we started seeing those spikes, I was like, wait a minute, they're really liking the prepping videos. And my biggest problem, honestly, I love you, dear, but I couldn't get
what is this?
I couldn't get him on board because he's like, well, we don't want to be a prepping channel saying the world's coming to it. And I'm like, no, but a blizzard came in Texas and people couldn't make it. We
Right.
have to tell them how to do this. We've done this. Well, then between Channel Jumpstart and going to VidSummit, both, we realized we did not know our audience at all.
Yeah.
We
At
thought
all.
we knew who they were because, you know, people comment, that's not really your whole audience. The majority of the audience never talks to you.
That's right.
And we were just thinking, we were following what people were, the commenters were saying. And that was a huge mistake. And we knew that there was data, but we didn't know how to understand the data.
Yeah.
So what did you do to know your audience? Because I think a lot of people says, oh, I know my audience, or maybe what do you need to do to know your audience? I think we need to break that down, because I think this will actually help a lot of content creators here on YouTube.
Okay.
Is understanding the value here.
So this is what we finally did. You know, I had the demographics, you know, 45 to 65, United States, college educated, making over $100,000 a year. I had those types of things, but I didn't have the nitty gritty. And what I actually did that helped me figure it out was I started using the community tab. And what I said was things like, how much do you spend on makeup a month? 80% of my people said $10 or less a month. Well, so what that told me was, when people tell me, oh, I want you to do a video on your hair, or I want you to do a video on makeup. No, I don't do those videos anymore, because they don't spend money on that and they really don't care about that.
Right.
You know, apartment dwelling. Oh, I want you to do a video on how to prep in an apartment. Well, 80% again of my viewers live in a house. Yeah. I'm not going to do videos on apartment dwelling. And so you know, you'll get a few people that say, oh, you're just trying to be like Google. You're trying to get all our information and all this. No, I'm actually just trying to make better videos to help you with what you want to learn. And so what I did was we sat on the plane home from VidSummit, and we listed out over 100 questions that we could ask our viewers.
Let's stop right there, because that's a really important thing. One of the things that anyone that's worked with me, it doesn't matter if they're a client or a student or anything in between, it's like I really try to get into the head of the viewer. Like that's the key, is like, yeah, demographics, we can get demographics, and demographics are demographics. It gives you a data point. But what's interesting is the psychographics. Like, what is psychologically going on in their heads? What are the patterns of predictability and the patterns of similarity, right? And then two, what do they do online? What do they do offline? Where do they shop? Where do they go? And you know how in depth that training is. It's like I go way in depth on that.
That was
I want to
get so much more important. So that was so much more important than the demographics that we were studying before. That was a huge thing for us, is kind of that shift when you really showed us that. And after
I think but I want to get back to your questions, because you wrote down 100 questions you can ask, because that right there is something that I want everyone on the call or on the live stream to understand, is realistically that's what you're trying to figure out. Like, who are these people? And by them answering questions, not all of them, but enough of the crowd, you can start really understanding who they are. Now, that is something that I would encourage everyone to do, but you can do it in multiple ways. They use the community tab for it. That's one way to do it. I prefer to actually do it in videos, but that if you do it in videos, it takes a lot longer. Trust me. Their approach is a lot faster. But the approach that I do is, if you're doing it in videos, it's a lot longer. And so you can say, okay, you know, you can pose the question and have them comment in the comments, you know, and you can start seeing that engagement in comments, and it can give you an understanding of what's actually happening in their lives that way. It just takes, it's kind of more of the long game of really understanding your audience. But I like that nature. And then two, you can, if you have an email list, which they did, that's an easy way to send out a survey real quick to understand it. So there's multiple ways to grab it. But the whole reason why you made 100 questions to ask your audience is so that you could understand what they found valuable, right? You just try to, okay, what do they find valuable? And when I look at value, I look at one thing only, okay? One thing. And I know that this might seem very simplistic, but value is where you put your time. Okay. So if I put my time on Minecraft, that's where my value's at. Okay. If I put my time on Netflix, that's where my value's at. Like you can break down someone's day and where they allocate time and how much time, that's what you're able to see, where they actually value that. Cause like ultimately we don't have an infinite amount of time. We all have the same amount of time. And that's where the priority, the priority comes in everybody's individual lives.
Yeah.
And that's where you find that value. And that's where I'm saying, if you're asking 100 questions and you're really trying to understand the value, and it could be time and then money next, where do they spend their money, which is the next stage of it, then you're starting to get a little bit better understanding of who your audience is. And so when you did those 100 questions and you started to define who your audience is, what was the aha moments? What was the aha moments?
They really didn't care about the videos that we were putting out.
I am so grateful that you said that, because go ahead.
Yeah. That's a harsh reality to have, because you think it's one expectation. You have this expectation. And for us, we've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, we've been on YouTube for 15 years or something. And so we had this idea in our head. And when at the last conference we were at with you, and I sat down and I said, Daryl, thank you so much. Look what you've done to our channel. And you said, Tara, you're not a saving money channel anymore. You're a prepping, emergency prep type channel now. And we were like, we have to go that direction.
And I want to go to these couple points. Generally, when you're not succeeding on YouTube, there's a couple indicators. One would be, hey, maybe you're not getting enough views yet, and it takes a little bit of time. Like every year I start a couple channels, or I partner with a couple channels, and the whole goal is to build up these big businesses that just, leverage YouTube. Love it. I just love it. We just got 2 of them going right now, just the first of the year, and I love it. And the reality is sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Well, how much time is a little bit of time? Well, I'm saying 90 days. Okay. If you don't see any traction in 90 days, there's something going on in your strategy. And that's where I believe that a lot of YouTubers fall short, is in their content strategy. And whether content is getting the right topic, getting the right viewer with the right topic, or more importantly, what Tara just said, making good videos, because you just realized, oh man, they don't really care for our videos. Maybe the person that's searching, but they're not connecting with us. They're just basically watching that video, and we basically got all the views that we normally get. And sometimes we have better views, and sometimes we don't. Okay. And then I want to talk about this moment right here, because I know, because I think everyone's looking for this, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for this. And I want to define this and unpack this, because this was a point of conversation that we had very, very in depth of, you know what? You're not a channel that does everything. Like, we had a very, very in-depth conversation on this.
Well, we kept telling you we have an identity crisis and we can't figure it out. That was our biggest problem, was we had an identity crisis on our channel because we were just all over the place. And even Justin was like, you know what? This is going to be really hard to pull out of. And I think poor Justin.
Well, let me clarify. So Justin's the president of my company. I just need to clarify who Justin is, because nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin, if you're watching, we love you today. But he's actually the chief strategist for the company, the president of the company, and then he handles that group coaching program called the Channel Jumpstart. So Justin was saying, it's gonna be hard to pull out of this. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and for good reason. We totally understood why he said that. And we actually started a whole nother channel. And I said, well, actually, we want to focus on our other channel, and we're just going to let Living on a Dime die out. Well, in the meantime, while I was getting the other channel going.
Well, let's stop there. Let's stop there real quick, because I know when we had the conversation, because we got when we dig deep in our group consultations, we went through your channel specifically, and you're like, I got an identity crisis, and I don't know I don't know what's going on. I gotta figure things out. And we're gonna do another channel. We're just like, we need to focus in on cooking, and frustrated. And then you said these words, because these words I've heard over and over again, thousands of times. It was, YouTube doesn't like my channel. YouTube's not giving the audience what I want here. And I'm like, okay, well, the reason why is you're confusing the AI from understanding who your audience is. And that was the moment. And I want to explain something for everyone that's going on. When we break down who your viewer is, they like other things too. But what was going on here before, and I want to just show this graph, before the spike, what was going on was they would put out a video that people would like, and then they would put out 3 or 4 videos that when it went to the homepage, people would see it and like, I'm not interested, and move on. Well, that is a very important thing that YouTube looks at, is not just what they click on, but what they don't click on. And when they realize, oh, they only click on these types of videos, that's what they're only interested in. And you might have another group that clicks on the other types of videos. And so I specifically told you, I go, you have a split audience. You will never succeed trying to be the end all be all for everyone. You needed to decide what you needed to do. And that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead, start this other channel over here. We're going to let this kind of die off. And I'm like, that's not necessarily the best thing. But you didn't want to double down on the prepping side. You're like, no, I'm a cook. I got cookbooks. I need to get the cookbooks out there. And I think that was the difference is cookbooks, you're looking at that as your biggest value. Like, I need to do cooking videos to sell cookbooks, and I want to unpack that a little bit later. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. You need an audience that loves and trusts you, and that will sell cookbooks. And it has nothing to do with recipes. And so you started another channel, started to grow a little bit. And you're like, okay, it's going to take a little bit of time, and we got the time right here, right?
Yep.
And, so I want to talk about this real quick, because this is a really important point, and this is still living on a dime. This is not the new channel.
Yeah.
But that point right there, and you both laugh, it was because you internalized, oh, this is the type of channel it is. And it started to take off. You started to see all this other stuff. And then you did something that made me cringe. Go ahead and tell everybody on here. Because I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, we went back to recipes again, which was stupid. But, honestly, no offense, dear, but I did not have Mike on board with doing the whole prepping emergency thing. And so we were like, okay, let's go back and let's try and see if the recipe videos, now that we've got more traction, let's see if they do better. And with what we learned in the class, they did do a little bit better. But we realized
from content, you're talking about, because the whole thing that we focus in on is the viewer and how to make good content for the viewers. And you're like, hey, we're getting better attention time. We're getting better videos. But the main problem wasn't necessarily completely, hey, you're making bad videos. It was just bad. It was a bad strategy, because you're trying to cram a recipe video down someone's throat. When they didn't want that. And yet you had people that wanted it, but it wasn't the mass of the other people that liked the content before. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. We're serving the wrong audience.
And
serving the wrong audience.
It doesn't matter how good your video is. If your audience doesn't want to watch it, it's not going to do you any good. I mean, it can be the best video in the entire world, but if it's not directed to what your audience really wants to watch, it's not gonna do you any good. And so once Daryl told Mike, you're a prepping channel now, we were like, okay, you know what? This is where we're focusing. We are going this direction, and that's where our channel just shot up. And we got 1 million views. And for us, it was only 30 days when we actually started implementing the course. Because what happened was we took the course and we moved, so we couldn't do it right away.
Right.
And as soon as we implemented it, it took 30 days. And those videos just started taking off. And so now we know the system for us that we need to do. And so now we can focus all of our attention in that one area. Now we're focused. We know what direction we're going. We don't have an identity crisis anymore.
Well, and for me, kind of what it took is we originally had a consultation directly with you.
Right.
And you sort of prepped us for this idea, and we were thinking, I don't know, do we really want to do that? And then we went ahead and tried what you said, and it did really well. And then we kind of went back a little.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
And then we thought, wow, that was pretty successful compared to what we'd been doing. And then we had the opportunity to get into Jumpstart, and we thought, well, you know, we really like Daryl, and it really worked before, so maybe we should get in more in depth with this.
Yeah.
And it was really great because you really went into identifying your audience and looking at the data and making decisions based on data. And on the audience things, validating what you think about the audience by looking at the data after you create things that you think are for them. And those things, we didn't really have any idea how to do that or that we needed to do that.
Yeah.
And once you were able to define that, and I know we talked about this before, but Mike, from your perspective, once you as the producer, because like she's the talent, she's getting all the stuff ready together, she has her ideas, but you're like producing this stuff and you're more on the strategy side of it. Like, when did it click for you in the sense of, okay, this is what the viewer actually wants and they find valuable?
Probably, actually, we ended up going through Jumpstart again because, you know, we're able to do it again after we were done moving. And that's when I started to really realize this is what they want. And I was seeing that as she was testing those things, they were really, really working out well. I still was having kind of an internal conflict about it because I wasn't really thinking about what the content is. I was thinking about what other people's content in that niche that I don't like is.
So I really love what you just said because so many creators are like, I can't do that. This is what it means to do that. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at examples of different content creators that are out there. And you're like, well, that's not us.
Yeah.
But my pushback to you guys, and this is, once you come into my mentoring program, you can take it as much as you want. It doesn't cost you anymore. You can go all the way through it with any.
And that's awesome too. It's like a community.
Well, I mean, I just love it. But once you're able to come back through it, I'm like, look, you're not doing that stuff. What you're doing is finding what works for you. Mm-hmm. And this is the theme of the channel. This is what the viewers want, but you got to do it your own way. Mm-hmm. And I do remember the thought, you're like, all right, okay, let's go for it, you know? But I think it was when some of these videos started to take off and you got a million viewed video, you know, you're starting to go from there. And then two, the thing that I loved is the moment that you decided, okay, we are not a cooking channel anymore. And that's when you actually started a new channel with easy recipes. You just started putting more energy and focus into this. Mm-hmm. And you reignited that. And what I love about that more than anything else is this. So your new channel, you didn't post for a very long time here. And you're like, okay, it's New Year. We're gonna go for it. Daryl says yes, and this is what we need to do. And then there was something that happened. You released a video, but if you look, you were getting a little bit of traction before that actually took off, and it was like a perfect storm. You actually released a video on a channel that's been dormant for a while because you're like, you know, we're gonna go back living on the dime or whatever. But you went all in. And that first video that you did, the system of really understanding who the viewer is, what value you want to give them, you looked at the content, and you made a really good piece of content. This is what happened. I mean, like, there's no denying that, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's look at it. It's not that many views, but it is. It is for that channel.
Yeah.
And the momentum started to come, right? And so having the momentum come and start engaging viewers, that's when that channel started to explode. But at the same time, what happened to Living on the Dime?
So Living on a Dime exploded too then. So and I'll be honest, I don't know if I should say this or not, but
say it. You got to say it. You can't, if you just qualify it there, you have to say it now.
We have probably only implemented about 5% of what we've learned in the class.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what we did with just 5%. And because we moved and then we had some issues with supply chain
Yeah.
with our cookbooks and stuff, we weren't able to focus as much as we were on it. And so we were focusing on the top things that we thought would really help the most.
Okay, but I want to clarify, because you say 5%.
It's been more than that.
I'll push back a little bit, but it's the most important thing
Yeah.
that I teach is
Yeah.
what you implemented. So I
Probably,
can't wait
yeah.
till you do the other 75%, because I think you're more 25% is what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the most important thing to start out, because you actually were appealing to an audience that they wanted to watch every single video of yours.
By just focusing on the audience and
That was
what they
huge.
wanted.
Yeah.
That was just what did it. And like with the cooking channel, I realized the audience, they don't want to hear me talking.
Yeah.
They want to see the video. They want to get in, see the recipes, and be done with it. And with Living on a Dime, it's
Now
actually,
there's other cooking recipe channels that they want to see the personality,
yeah,
but the type of viewer, they just want to, hey, give me the stuff that I want,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
that's what we discovered. And like with Living on a Dime, we also discovered they don't want any backstory.
Yep.
We were always giving backstory, and we'd see this huge
Hockey stick.
down. And we were like, whoa.
Let me tell you, and you give it like a really, but that's about the analyzing and adjusting phase, right? So
Yeah.
you're like analyzing every video, and you're realizing, oh, all these videos are the same. What's going on here?
Yeah.
For me, it was really huge in things like, well, the audience thing was brilliant, but a lot of the data stuff that you've really shared with us, like looking at audience retention and seeing like, oh, hey, it drops really hard here. What is it we did in that video that was a problem? How can we make this better the next time?
Right.
And things like where is the traffic coming from? We were driving traffic from other sources to the channel in ways that were kind of committing suicide on our own channel. And we didn't realize that we were doing that. Things like click-through rate, we had really no idea what to do with that metric.
Well, and I think that's a very important thing, is you knew the metric was important. You've heard it and you've seen it in all these videos, but you didn't know what to do, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was really with all the metrics. That was the issue. We knew they were there. We were overwhelmed with them because there's a lot of data, but we don't know what to do with it to actually,
Yeah.
put it into a strategy to make
Yeah.
something happen.
Yeah.
So I think all in all, it was, you had a split audience, you had a bad strategy, and the way that you're able to succeed was split your audience onto channels where it was exclusively that content.
Mhm.
And then, so you're producing the same amount of videos,
Mhm.
but now you have two channels. And yet when you did that, and then you're speaking to that one audience, you went and made 100 questions and trying to understand who they are, you're now providing the value that they need, and both channels at the same time went up.
Yeah.
And I think that right there, I think anyone that has been on this live stream this whole time really needs to unpack that, because if you've been grinding away, doing thousands, like they had 1,600 videos before that moment of really defining who they are and what they're not. That's really important. And then separating the stuff that they still are passionate about on another channel, because it needs to live somewhere. If they're passionate about it, put it on another channel.
Mhm.
And I know that you use the word prepping, and I think that could be misunderstood what it is. But,
Yeah.
but basically, you're when I look at it, is you're trying to help households
Mhm.
through hard times. And when you look at it through that lens, it's just like, what can you do? Because I do know your content now resonates with that, and it's on this side of the spectrum instead of like the whole, anti-government side of the spectrum, on the other side of the preppers, right?
Yeah, our whole thing is, and we need to find a good name for this. I don't know what is it, because prepping gives bad connotations. But the whole point is that when something like when that thing going around happened in March of 2020, you don't have to freak out because you can't go to work for a month. You have enough money saved up. You have enough toilet paper that you're not worried about. And it's not about having a bunker full of food. People think it's about a bunker full of food. It's not that at all.
You know that I have a bunker full of food.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But, that's the connotation that's the image that people get in their mind when we talk about these things. And it's like, no, get enough to just get you through 3 days and then 3 weeks and then 3 months, because you never know. We have viewer after viewer who email us and say, my husband fell, broke his back, couldn't work for 6 months, but we were able to make it through because you guys showed us how to cut back and save money. So we had the savings to get through.
I love it.
And that's what we're about. And so what helped with Mike actually was when he realized we're actually already doing that.
Yeah, I think
we just need to call it a different name.
It was when it was the intervention with you and Hope at the retreat. Hey, we're doing this already. We're just calling it something different. And also in the audience, we had this revelation about our audience that we had a friend when floodwaters were rising in Colorado.
Yep.
She drove through the rising water to go get 1 gallon of milk because she had no preparation. And that's where I was thinking, whoa, we're actually speaking to these people. Mm-hmm. We just need to realize that's who we're speaking to.
Yeah. And I think once you put a face on them and it's like, oh, here's the situation, then you can speak and resonate more with them. And I think that's.
And so now every time we do a video, I see my old neighbor, Katie. We love Katie. And I see her sending me a picture of of her driving through the floodwaters just to get milk. And I remember how proud she is that now she has 3 months worth of food and she doesn't have to be scared to do that. And so then you really grasp your audience. Yeah. And it's like,
I just love that. And I think when you're envisioning that as you're making content, you're going to make better content because you're thinking of your avatar. That's the whole thing that we go in depth on, is really understanding the demographics, the psychographics, what they do online, what they do offline. She had to offline go get a gallon of milk, going through some very difficult conditions to try to get that gallon of milk, because if not, she couldn't feed her kids. And so that's a really important thing. Now, I want to switch gears because there's so much that we can unpack. But for how many years were you selling a cookbook? I just want to basically give
23 years. We've
23 years. So it's the same cookbook, self-published, 23 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
23 years.
Now, I want to set this up for everyone, and it's a very interesting thing because in your mind, this is what you told me, I need to do cooking recipes because that's the only way I can sell a cookbook. Is that correct?
That's what we thought.
And I told you that realistically you don't. You just need an audience that is first aware of who you are. Second, they care who you are. And then, that trust value that's put in there. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So, when you're developing an audience, and I want everyone to really dig into this, is like when you're developing an audience and you're really understanding who they are, you know how to speak to them, and it becomes more personal, it becomes more intimate, and you can actually have conversations. They feel like they're a part of something bigger. And what I love is you've been selling cookbooks for all this time. And what I love too is you have your website and you have reviews and you're doing all this other stuff. But then you actually decided, you know what? I'm going to listen to what Daryl says, and we're going to put it in a video, and we're going to push it. And this is the great thing, is it wasn't a cooking specific video. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, and then what happened with the success that you're able to have?
So what we realized was our Dining on a Dime cookbook is actually a basic cookbook that teaches people how to make bread, how to make their own homemade taco seasoning, how to make tortillas, mashed potatoes, a roast, that kind of thing. And what we realized is, wait a minute, that's what everybody needs for prepping. They don't know how to make tacos at home without buying taco seasoning. They don't realize that it's 4 or 5 spices and you can make it at home for 10 cents. And so then
it's easy.
Yeah, super easy. And so we realized, wait a minute, these recipes actually fit into prepping because they're quick. And I mean, I don't spend more than 15 minutes on dinner usually a night, and they're quick, they're easy to do with what you already have on hand. And so that's how we started fitting it in with the videos, was we were realizing, wait a minute, we're already doing this. We just had the wrong spin on it.
But
okay, whoa. We cannot go any further than that, because it's like, same concept as video viewers, and you've been selling this book for all these years, and you're like, well, we don't have the right fit. Yes, you're selling books and all this other stuff, but it wasn't really, you weren't getting the momentum off of YouTube that you thought you did. But once you decided, oh, this is my viewer, and the way that we're trying to sell this is wrong. The way we need to sell this is in a way that they can see, oh, this is how it all comes together when it comes to being prepared.
Yep.
And it's like living on less, which that's being prepared, right? And it's just like, okay, how do you need to weave it? So you were able to weave a story. And I got to put this up here. What happened next when you released the video? You spoke to him. What happened next?
Is this the big reveal where we?
Yeah.
So when we weaved that into our prepping content on how to prepare at home and be able to stay at home, this is all about being prepared at home. We sold $50,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
Based on that one video. Yeah.
Yeah. One video. One video. Like one video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I love. And this is why I love YouTube to death. This is why I'm always an advocate for YouTube, is because this right here changes lives. And to change lives, you have to bring value in, and you need to know what people find valuable. That's why audience development is really important. And the whole process of helping you guys, even though that you didn't listen to me a lot, you did, but then you didn't, and then you did, but you didn't. But once you got on board, once you got on the train, right, the YouTube train, right, it's like, oh, it's all about this audience and really understanding who they are, and then it's crafting a story that made sense. And it's not like you're trying to swindle somebody out of money. You're trying to really help people, and you explain why it's helping them and the ways that you could use it. You made one video, and that one video got $50,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
And have you ever had a sell like that before?
Never.
On the 20 some odd years of selling the book?
No, never like that.
Okay. So what is the end result for people? Like, I think that is something that I want everyone to understand. Was you tried all these things and you felt like, hey, we're doing it. We're making a living at it. It's not like super lucrative, but we're doing it. We're passionate about it. But the moment you found your jam, the moment you understood YouTube, the moment you understood the viewer, the moment that you understood what content the viewer wanted to watch, the moment that you split that other audience on another completely different channel that's cooking related, but the moment you realized, oh, the cookbook is so much more, and it's actually can help people that have limited resources have good meals. And what happened is that's when you were able to get $50,000 in sales on one video in 1 month.
Now, I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Come on now.
We never would have dreamed, it did just all click. It did just all finally click. And I think the problem is people focus on their YouTube name. They focus on,
what do I want to do?
What do I want to do? Which you do need to do what you want to do if you're going to keep doing this for the long haul. But you have to really, it's focusing in on your audience and what your audience wants, or the audience that you want to bring in, focusing on that audience. Because if you don't do that, they're not going to click on the videos and they're not going to keep watching. And once you get them to keep watching and you start relating with them, they start relating with you, and then you sell $50,000 worth of cookbooks. So,
and then doing what you want to do is useful, but the thing is, there's kind of a Venn diagram where there's what you want to do and what the audience wants, and if what you want to do is not in there, then you're not going to make it with the audience you have. And that was the thing we also ran into. That was part of my struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like, for anyone watching this, it's like, I truly believe that you don't need a course or anything like that. You just need the right instruction. And you guys went through my instruction where I mentor people through Channel Jumpstart. And for those that are interested in it, it's at channeljumpstart.com. It's a invite only. You have to apply. We're only looking for a selected amount of people, but I think the key is there's a lot of great information out there, But realistically, you just got to step back and realize what we actually just went through. We went through some very, very important golden nuggets here, right? They were literally uploading all the content, trying to be the end all be all for everyone. And they did it very consistently, and they got marginal results. I don't even know if it's marginal results. So you got results, but it's not the results you were looking for, right?
Yeah.
And how many people start YouTube that feel the same way, whether they're starting out a new channel, whether they're plateaued for a while. And the reality is, it was the moment that you decided we are going to start really understanding who's watching our videos. And so to recap, it was like, we made 100 questions after VidSummit that we were going to understand the viewer a lot deeper. You use the community tab, which is great. I like to use in video, which is even better from my perspective, because you can get it more organically and it doesn't feel like you're doing an inquisition on anybody, right? And it just takes a lot longer. But you're able to start ruling out by what people you think they were believing. And you're like, well, no, that's not necessarily who they are. No, not necessarily who they are. Oh, they're really like this. And you started defining who that audience is. And then once you started to understand more about your audience, you started to understand the value. And I explained this very, very specifically. I want to do it again. But value is where people put their time. Okay. Value is where people put their money. Those two things, time and money. That's it. And when you understand where that value is, and you start understanding where they put their time and money, then it's like, okay, now you can start communicating with them. Now you know what makes them tick. You're going through the psychographics. I mean, the training that I do with my students is like way in depth.
It really is.
We just like hit it over and over and over and over again. And those that want to do it, it's actually in my book at ytformula.com. You can get the bestseller YouTube formula. It's here somewhere.
Yeah. And we reread that, and I was like, oh, this is what we need. And then when I saw Jumpstart, I'm like, oh, this is what we really need.
Yeah. And the book goes in depth for a lot of people, but there's no way it would literally take 10 books to go through what we do in Channel Jumpstart of all the little things of how we analyze it. Because the thing that I want everyone to know, every channel is unique. You're not competing with any other channel. You're only competing with yourself. And I think, Mike, you realized that, oh, I don't want to be like this. But it was like, no, what is your channel? And who is your audience? And what do they find valuable? Those three things. And then when those three things happen, that's when your channels started to explode. That's when they started to buy more than ever before, was when you understood that.
And I want to say something really important here. We started working less. We were doing 5 videos a week. Well, we were actually doing 7 videos a week, and then we cut back to 5. But now that we've gone through the program, we're actually cutting back to 1 live and 1 video a week. And
why is that? Like, that's really important. Why is that?
Because we can make better quality videos with better content, and we can prepare better when we're not so worn out just making video after video after video. And so that way we can focus and do better content, and then more people watch it and we do less work.
Yep.
Amazing, isn't it?
Because honestly, I'll tell you, as we were starting the course, I told a few people this. I was like, if I have to look at another video, I think I'm going to throw up. I'm like, I can't keep going doing this. But I know we have really good content, and I know we have really good ideas that really help people, genuinely help people. We get the comments every single day, how much we've helped change lives.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but there's got to be an easier way to do this. And you definitely showed us the easier way.
So would you mind just taking a minute real quick and just go through some pain points? I know that we've done this real quick, but I want you to take like 3 or 4 minutes. So just where you started, your pain points, your aha moments, just really cap this off. And then what I want to do is open it up to some questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the most painful thing for me was I'm chronically ill. I have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So I have, very limited energy. And yet I was trying to do this, and we would shoot and then edit and then I'd lose half the footage and have to reshoot again. And so it was just physically wearing me out doing all of the recipe videos. And when I sat down and did a couple of prepping videos and they went crazy, I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm not exaggerating. One cooking video that I did a collab with took me 60 to 70 hours to do. And I got about 11,000, I think, views on it. But I went and did the one prepping video that made all the cookbook money for us, and we have over 1 million views on it. And that took me literally an hour to shoot and edit. And I was just like, this is crazy. Why am I killing myself working 60 to 70 hours for a video that gets nothing when I can do this other video for literally an hour's worth of work and make $50,000? And it's not all about the money, but you need to be paid for your time and your work that you put into this. And you need to see it as a business and value that time. Because otherwise you're just going to end up like me, and you're going to be looking at your videos saying, if I have to see another one, I'm going to throw up, you know? So.
Yeah. I would say for us, one of the big pain points too was listening to what people told us they wanted and making that. And then the terrible, like, internal disaster when it just didn't succeed at
flopped,
all.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when we talk about the 100 questions, one thing we didn't say in this video, but I think you've really encouraged us to think about the audience. And first, we didn't know for sure who they were, and you asked us to define them. But the question we learned at a point before we got into Jumpstart, we asked them, what do you want? And what they tell us is not what they really want. They don't know what they want. And so when we started to really pay attention to questions that were more like, who are you? And what do you like to do with your time? And if you could sit in the evening and watch a movie, what movie would it be, or something? Those questions were much more valuable. So for us, it was the pain of listening to too many voices and doing too many different things that we thought were going to succeed. And then the kind of the crushing defeat of when it just wasn't producing anything.
Well, I want to unpack that a little bit of it, because you're like listening to too many voices, and it made you indecisive of what to do, where to actually analyze it. And I think the big thing for me, I've been teaching this, and this is the theme of the book and everything, is plan, execute, analyze, and adjust. That's the way I lived my life. That's the way I do Channel Jumpstart when I mentor students like you. But it's more about the data and understanding the data points. And I think everyone's like, oh, all I need is the secret sauce is just one video to take off, and a video takes off and they're like, oh yeah. And then it just dies. Yeah. And it's just, they're missing the elements of what the value was, and they're not really asking the right type of questions. And so, getting misled a lot, I've seen time and time again, where people on YouTube are listening to bad information. And that's one, my whole thing is, don't listen to bad information. Listen to your data, because the data doesn't lie. Yeah. People can lie. And they have these weird superstitions about what works and what doesn't work. And I think, we're getting a lot more clarity, because there's amazing YouTube educators out there that do a great job of really start breaking it down, and going in depth. And I think for the basics, they're starting to understand that. For where I thrive, like I got to confess something. You guys heard me confess this a lot, but I think everyone on the call, I don't like the basics. The basics just drive me freaking bananas. The whole reason why I did Jumpstart was to go through 12 weeks, but I wanted to re-record all the modules, or pre-record all the modules, so that when we had discussions on the Q&A, I could talk about things. But realistically, it's like pulling my teeth out until they understand my system. Because once they understand my system and the foundation that they need to really look at YouTube and really look at audiences, then that's where I have the most fun, because we can talk about advanced things like, oh, you think this, but that's wrong. But we have the same principles. We have at least the same understanding of what I find is valuable, and it works, and it's just more about, okay, this is how you look at it, and you're looking at it wrong. You can sell a cookbook to people that cared about preparedness. And when you did that, that's when you actually crushed it in sales like no ever before, $50,000 in 1 month. And that's where it was actually coming down to that. So I love that. I love that a lot, of listening to the right type of of things. And I want everyone to understand the only thing that I want you to listen to, anyone that's watching this, is the data. The data doesn't lie. The data
No.
will tell you exactly what to do, but you need to understand how to interpret the data. And that's where, having a mentor like me or someone else helps you. It's like, oh, here's the data and here's why you do these things.
Yeah.
And for us, we knew the data didn't lie. We just didn't know how to read it.
Yeah. But you do
And
now.
once we read it,
You
we're
do
like,
now.
the data doesn't lie, and I'm going with data.
Well, also YouTube, I think a lot of people think YouTube is against me. YouTube is going to push me in the background and give it to somebody more famous. But YouTube wants you to succeed. But actually, YouTube wants, above all else, the viewer to get what they want.
Exactly.
And really realizing, kind of making that connection and figuring out how to work with YouTube and understand the AI, that's really, really, really helpful. Because then you can make sure you can give the viewers what they want, and then YouTube will recognize that, and YouTube will elevate what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think and let me I'm going to go full screen. I'll bring you back on here in a second. Sure. But I think the biggest thing that I want everyone watching this interview and this live stream is to really understand YouTube's not out to get you. The algorithm isn't there to attack you. It's just more understanding what YouTube actually wants. I mean, I went through in depth in the book to tell you how to unlock the algorithm, and it's really simple. You have to unlock people. And once you understand what people find valuable and where they put their time, it's just like, oh, I get it. And where they jump from, hey, maybe they don't like your content here, and they jump on another video because you're wasting their time. They want to find more value somewhere else. It's more understanding that, unpacking that, because the algorithm isn't an algorithm. It's actually controlled by an AI, artificial intelligence, and every traffic source is a different way to view YouTube, and every traffic source has algorithms, and they have bots, and they have things that they're looking for, indicators of seeing what's successful and what's not, what people want to watch and what they don't want to watch. And so it's really, really important to go from there. And so when Mike and Tara was going through their channel, they were hit and miss. They gave an audience what they wanted, and they gave another audience what they wanted, but they weren't giving the full audience or the majority of the viewers what they truly wanted, which was every time they saw a video, they wanted to click on it. They were trying to oversaturate it by putting so much content out there that they weren't bringing up the quality, because it's more about quantity. And so once they were able to dial it down and go to quantity based, which is making really good videos for the right type of viewer, that's when they started to explode. I mean, when you look at their growth, I mean, I love it. I love to see the growth of both channels. And when you see the growth here, let me go back one more slide here. But when you see the growth here, it's like when they actually figured out that, oh, this type of viewer, and we can make this video, and this would work in a bucket. And if you don't know what buckets are, get my book. And you can see there. And then when they decided, oh, we want to go back to the old way of doing it because, now our channel's taking off, it started to tank. And I believe that a lot of us have videos that take off, but we don't know how to take that momentum and build upon it, because they think, oh, it's just this, or I can't do this. And if you go back and watch Hope's training that we did 2 weeks ago, and you're watching this one here, no, you got to figure out what people are finding valuable, and you're providing that through video content. And that right then and there is the ultimate goal on YouTube. And my desire is all of you to better identify why you're on YouTube, what's your ultimate goal, because some of you might not necessarily be for a ton of subscribers. I don't want to be the most popular person on YouTube, but what you want is to be able to sell things. And that's where I love their story, is once they figured out that, hey, what we are, what we're not, and that you can sell things on YouTube. They've been selling a cookbook for over 20 years, and they were able to do that where they put out the cookbook, put out the right video, and in 1 month they got $50,000. Like that right there is where I want all of you to truly understand. So what I would encourage you all to do is start trying to identify your audience, really start digging deep into who is watching your videos. Okay, where they're coming at demographically, that's fine. So demographically, there's a lot of little details of who they are, but more importantly, psychologically, what do they find valuable? What is their day looking like? I want to go in depth on this. Whenever we start a channel whenever I partner with a channel. We just barely partner with a channel. I really try to understand the viewer. And this is something that I go way in depth. I read every comment, and I try to watch to see patterns and themes. And, I can do this a little bit faster now because I've been doing this for years, but I know what I'm looking for, right? And I want to create this document. So I'm right now with a brand new channel that we just barely are now partners with. I'm literally making this document, and it all comes down to the psychology of people, the psychology of what they find valuable, the psychology of where they put their time, energy, and money into. And once I'm able to really understand that, then it's looking for those little nuggets of goodness. So I was flying back. I was working on The Chosen down in Texas. It's a TV show that I'm the CEO, co-founder, executive producer of. I was literally flying back, and when I got to my layover in Salt Lake City last night, and that's when my eyes there. I didn't get home till like 2 a.m. But I was able to have a conversation with my partner with this new channel, and I says, "Hey, let's go over a couple things." And I saw a pattern, and I'm like, "Did you see this?" And like, "Oh no!" And we started talking about it, and the energy started to come out in this new partner, and I'm like, "This is what you need to do." And when you make this content, this is how you need to make the content. And it's just more about, hey, if you make it this way, they're going to find it valuable. And if they find it valuable, they're going to stay on longer, and they're going to have longer retention times. But then too, they're going to be more connected to you as a content creator, more connected to you as that story develops. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So when they find and discover you, they want to binge watch every one of your videos because they're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is so valuable. It's worth their time to watch video after video after video after video. And just to give you context, this brand new channel is within a couple weeks, they got their silver play button. Like they'll be at guaranteed we'll be at 1 million subscribers, this time next year. Just because there's a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the key of it is massive growth is coming right now, and it's more about that development of the channel, the development of the viewer, and we really are breaking that down. And those are the decisions that we're making. So with I'm going to bring back Mike and Tara on, but the moment that you guys found that, like, oh, this is the viewer, this is where the success can come. That's when you're able to do what my ultimate goal is for every one of my students that I mentor, is to change your lives. And realistically, if you look at the money that came in off of YouTube AdSense and, through selling your courses these last couple months, like realistically, how has that changed your life?
Show me the money. I mean, we've been working so hard at this for so long, honestly, literally making like $1 an hour. And so it's really been nice actually having the money come in, and we don't have to worry about, the next video flopping, and we just did all of that work. And so for us, it's just kind of, it just kind of gives you a sense of peace. Well, not really peace, because it's not all about that, but it just makes life a lot easier when you're not just struggling all the time, and you actually know the direction that you're going.
And the comfort of, oh my gosh, we now made more money
Yeah.
than we did all year in just a couple days. I love that. So I want to open it up to questions, because far too many times, people look at me and they're like, oh, that's great for you. And you have all these gold play buttons all over everywhere, and you know what you're doing, but does this work for average people? And so I want you to answer the bulk of these questions. And I want to go from here. So the first one comes from Mowers and Blowers. I love that name. But do you practice first, like rehearsal, before you start making videos?
No.
We did when I was running it, but now we found it works better when we don't.
Yeah. So people like my personality, and tact is not my spiritual gift. And so
guess what? Mine either. So anyway.
So a lot of people like when I just say things off the cuff. And so, no, we don't practice. I just shoot. And then if I just say something that I feel just isn't you sit right or whatever. I'm never offensive or anything like that. But if I think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, then I just edit it out now. So
yeah. I think the biggest thing is, you can rehearse. I think rehearsal comes through preparation. I know they prepare. They get, okay, what is in the videos? What are the elements we want to do? That's the type of rehearsal we're doing. But to get up and do it, sometimes you're going to miss the most golden moments because you're not recording. So
and I think you lose your personality a little bit too when it's too rehearsed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't rehearse or anything, but for the kind of thing that we're doing, I think that it would lose a lot if I just practiced a lot. And so a lot of times I won't even, people are just going to die when they hear this, but a lot of times I'll just shoot the video and then I'll go back later and I'll say 15 ways to beat hyperinflation. And so I don't even have the list in front of me. I just start talking. And then later.
That hurts my heart.
I know.
I'm still trying to get her on the...
That literally hurts my heart. Tara, stop it.
So I'm working on that.
I'm still trying to get her on the thumbnail before shooting.
I definitely want to get through a whole bunch of questions. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. And then also what we do on these live streams that come on. I know a lot of you would love to have a one-on-one with me. Guess what? We're going to give it away. We're going to find one person that was on this live stream that really brought a good question in or something. If you're wanting that as well, I want to show our winner last stream was Love John Lovell. That's my favorite face ever. He actually won that consultation for a one-on-one with me. I don't even know what I charge, but I think it's like $700, I think, or something an hour. But anyway, he was able to grab that. Really love that. And so you want to be active here because that's how I'm actually picking the consult is the people that are actually asking good questions. So let's go ahead and go to the next question here. Digital Art Drew, what is the best way to promote your videos and channel? Is Facebook helpful or hurtful?
So we have a huge Facebook page with over 400,000 people, and it did nothing for our channel. So I would say the number one way to promote your channel is to really make good content that your audience wants. I know people don't want to hear that, but that is what you have to focus on. I can put a video on our Facebook page and it maybe brings in 300 views, maybe. But really, it's just the content and knowing your audience.
Well, and YouTube promotes itself if you position the videos right for your audience. And pushing things from the outside is not necessarily a great way to do it, which is one thing that we've really learned through this process.
I just smile because I'm like, hey, I wouldn't have said it any better. I've been saying the same thing over and over again. No, but then two, this is a very important thing that Mike was saying is they really focused in on search, but it was when YouTube figured out what they are and getting the recommendation, because the massive growth that you see isn't coming from search. It's coming from people discovering these videos on their homepage, discovering these videos on suggested videos. So that's a really, really great question there. Let's go ahead and pick up another question here for you guys, hopefully. All right, here we go. Majestic Family question. How do you know what questions to ask your audience? Like, how did you come up with those 100 questions?
Well, so at first we were just curious, like, okay, we know the audience said that they wanted crockpot recipes, but when we did crockpot videos, they were a total bomb. So what I asked was, do you prefer using the oven, Instant Pot, air fryer, or crockpot to cook?
Yeah.
Or stovetop was the 5. And out of all of those, the oven and the stovetop was number 1 and 2, and then crockpot was number 4. Well, right there explains why the crockpot video totally bombed. And so then, like now we're doing the prepping type thing. So I asked, what are your hobbies? Gardening, Netflix, reading, that kind of thing. And to find out that people really like gardening. And so we're gonna start doing some gardening videos because they want to learn how to do gardening. And so we just went in and asked, what is it you think about X or Y? And go in and read their comments, but take it with a grain of salt. Look at the data and make videos accordingly. Now, like we did a video called Prepping for Pets, and I was pretty sure it was going to bomb. but I went ahead and did it anyway. Well, and then I asked my viewers, do you have pets? And 70% said they have pets, but they don't care about prepping for pets. So just read the data. And even though it says one thing, it doesn't necessarily mean you should do that. You kind of have to test it out and see. And some videos, we have videos that bomb. The bomb videos are the ones that tell us what people like and don't like. So they're not actually a total failure.
But one other thing on the question.
Wait, hold on. Thank you so much for saying that. Like, I preach that so heavily, because you've heard it, like my rants, but it's like, no, it's a data point. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that they don't want it. Maybe there's something in that video that just disconnected them or was off. And so, like, just because a video tanks doesn't mean that it's not a topic that they don't love, but it's a data point that you can actually explore. Yeah. And that's what we go into it, is like, how do you really explore those data points, and then how do you leverage it in the way for that to happen? And then two, I've had videos that tanked, and then they'd go 21 days, and then they just like pop off. And so it's just like, you might not be seeing it. You just need to know how to analyze it. But there's certain data points that's like, okay, that was a stinker. And if you feel like, no, my audience still loves it, like, I always encourage you to do it again and again, because you just got to learn. Maybe it was that one moment or whatever. And then after a while, it's like, no, that's not what they like. And so that's a really, really important thing. Now, I want to tell you what I do to ask questions for the audience, and how I pull that out would be same type of concept that they're doing. It's just like, hey, do you got one of these? And you're showing an air fryer. Do you got one of these there? Like, I found this is super amazing to do X, Y, or Z, but you might have a crock pot. Tell me what you have, crock pot or an air fryer. Put it in the comments, and you'll start seeing crock pot, air fryer. You can do it. Yes, it's not tabulated the same way that you do in a survey, but it's more organic. My husband hates this thing. What about you? Yeah, my husband hates that thing too. It's just like very, very cool. But it's an easy way to have them feel like they're a part of the conversation. So I love it. Okay, so let's take another question here. I love this part, because you're like, I love it. It's like music to my ears when you're doing it. Let me try to find.
Daryl, you can say I told you so. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So
look at my page.
Living backyard question. Do you come up with your own person for the channel, or do you read data only, or go with that data things? And so I think what they're trying to say is, are you just trying to understand your ideal viewer, or are you going with data, or are you doing data alone?
Both, actually. I mean, we kind of put it all together to come up with the viewer we wanted. And for us, this is really important. We pulled in viewers that we didn't want, and actually harmed our channel.
Well, let's switch, because this is the next one is, so they said, do you keep your older videos on your channels once you get started in one direction? Because I think that's a question that kind of correlates with this. Like, if you're getting a video that's bringing the wrong type of viewer in, what do you do? Do you keep the older videos that's bringing the wrong viewer in? What do you do there?
Well, so we have chosen to leave our older videos up only because they do tie in with what we're doing now. Now, if it was totally different, like I know one YouTuber who does kitchen design, and he used to do marriage advice. I would probably cut all the marriage advice, since he's doing kitchen design now. But for us, because it still relates to what we're talking about and how to prep and how to save money and that kind of thing, we've left our older videos up.
No, I love that. And there's a time to prune, but it's with the data.
Yeah.
I extremely don't like to prune, but I prune all the time, in the sense when I work with a client, we just try to identify there's certain markers that we look for. So I teach my students of how to group things and analyze. Is it really helping your channel or hurting your channel? And sometimes when it's hurting your channel, I kind of explain the signs from it, and then that's the decision of what to do with that video. Okay, so Elizabeth's asking, what is your deciding factor that solidifies how you knew who your audience was?
I just took all their answers and put it in a file and said, this is who Katie is.
Yeah.
Well, and once we made videos for Katie, and we could see, whoa, that did 4 times better than the last one, then we figured, okay, we've correctly understood Katie in this context.
Yeah.
So Katie is an actual person, but it's also their viewer avatar, and they're thinking about, what does Katie need? And so when I say Katie, we're talking thousands of Katies, right? Feel like, oh, they're speaking to me. They're saying exactly what I'm thinking. They're just saying exactly how I feel. That's where value comes in. I love that. Great question, Elizabeth. Okay, so next one is coming from thoughtful creativity. A question: how do you bring back the split? Okay, how to bring back the split audience like yours? Did you read data and really establish who the person is, or do you try to find the most common denominator, or not necessarily?
Wow.
That's a good question, by the way.
I honestly just went by the data, but the data gave us the most common denominators, and that's who we went with.
And data could be consistent comments that people are making. That's one of the biggest indicators I look at is what is the consistent comments, but also what happens in a video. There's several data points, like click-through rate is one of those things. But realistically, in the video itself, it might look at very minute. Oh, it dropped here and then it came up here. What's going on? Like those are the type of analysis that we look for. I think for me though, is when we're really trying to identify who our audience is, we have all these hypotheses of who they are. And the more data that you get in through comments and things that they like, what they don't like, you can start taking that hypothesis and testing it and like, oh, we're going to do this video that should work really well. So i.e. she brought up her dog prepping video. So the dog prepping video didn't hit yet, maybe because it was a disconnect from the audience. That's her hypothesis. So the only way to prove that is to do it again and see, can she make it better? Or saying, you know what, I know it doesn't because of X, Y, or Z of these data points. And so knowing that's there. So the thing that, what most people think is, hey, I shouldn't even say this, but in the Philippines, they eat dogs and maybe that's part of your prepping, whatever it is. But it's like, it could be the topic. It could be, satire. I wouldn't necessarily say that because there's a lot of animal lovers out there in the world. Okay. Do you deal with seasonality and views at all? Let's have you ask that question because I want to, this is a really good question on that. So do you deal with seasonality?
So yes, we do. So like as soon as that thing going around hit in March of 2020, I got right on and I did prepping for pooping.
Yep.
Took off.
Which was when everybody was having to run on toilet paper.
Yeah. So that totally took off. And then I did how to make homemade hand sanitizer. That took off. And so, yes, seasonality really matters. And as a matter of fact, right now, we're kind of having an issue where it's like, okay, which crisis do we pick to deal with?
But that's part of the analysis, right? It's like, what is going to actually resonate?
Do I deal with truckers? Do I deal with volcanoes, earthquakes?
Yep.
And so you kind of have to go and see, what would your audience want? Well, my audience probably isn't worried about a volcano in Italy.
Yeah.
But they're probably worried about the truckers in Canada because it's going to affect them. So that's kind of how I go through and decide now.
And the mental impact?
Well, I want to go. I want to be able to. Yeah, we'll get to it. I broke up the question because Kenny actually asked a really, really good question. So yes, there's seasonality in everything. You're going to have ups, downs, and sideways. That's just the way that it is, and you need to understand the patterns. One of the things that I teach very specifically to my students is how to actually see the trends that actually occur, and it's not necessarily the trends that you think. And once you're able to see trends within buckets, that's the bucket system that we talk about in the book. Also in depth is like there are trends within trends, and it's not all what you think, and there's a way to really amplify even during low times. Like low times you can still get more views if you understand what people are actually looking at and weaving it into maybe a trend that is trending that is relevant with your audience, but bringing it in a way that it's relevant with your audience and the people out there. And that's how you expand your audience and you start to grow specifically on that.
And a real easy way to do that is to look on Google Trends and see what's breaking out right now. And then you can ride the wave up on that. That's one way I do
that.
it.
There's so much you can do on that. So What is the mental impact like, and how do you cope with external factors affecting your views? So let me address this one. One of my favorite indicators is the dislike button. YouTube is now hiding that because a lot of people feel, from YouTube's perspective, if it's true or not, but it's like, oh, they're dealing with mental issues. The best feedback that you can get is when someone dislikes it. And you might say, well, there's trolls out there that they dislike everything. Well, that's good. It's good to understand that you have haters, and haters is a good aspect of really growing an audience. You need to understand that, and you need to deal with it. I know when I started on YouTube, people are like, you're fat, nobody's going to listen to you, whatever. Like, I remember staying up at night and thinking about a comment. And I'm like, I don't even know this person. Like, why is this affecting me so much? And the moment I didn't care anymore, like, they can call me whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. The reality is those are the type of people I don't want. And even though they're saying that, I can create a culture of people that I want to be surrounded by. And that's where I went into. So, like, for me, with Channel Jumpstart, we have an application process. I don't like toxic Teds, i.e. trolls, negative Nellies, those are trolls. I don't care about them. I don't want them to succeed on YouTube. I don't want my energy sucked away from their toxicity, right? And so I look for people that are very optimistic. You know, they are trying hard, and it's something I can do to really help them. And so I really like to look at all those aspects. And then too, that dislike button is really important for me because, and you can still get to it, you have to just dig down to it. But I think it's just really understanding, well, you know what? A lot of people don't necessarily like it, and there might be a reason, but they might not like it, but yet they watched through the whole thing. So maybe the indicator is it didn't leave them walking away with the feeling that they wanted, so they hit the dislike button, but they actually watched to the end. So you got to just kind of weigh it out, and you got to know how that all works. But that's a really good
and
question.
sometimes, can I tell you real quick? One time I did a video on canning and how canning your own food doesn't actually save money. I mean, by the time you add everything up, you could go to Walmart and work and it would take less money. Wow. I set off a firestorm, and I mean a firestorm. I don't know how many videos were made about this, but sometimes a video that people really hate can help you because you get so much bad reviews from it that other people go and they're like, well, you're right. It doesn't, because, you know, I spent all this time wasting canning and I shouldn't have. And so, you know, sometimes it can feel really bad, but it can actually help you.
Yep. It is. And I think it's just more where, you know, getting people defending you just as much as they hating you. That's kind of where that polarization happens naturally. But that's where, hey, no, that's not what they're meaning. They're meaning this X, Y, or Z. So Craig's Outdoor Adventures. Can you grow with only posting 1 to 2 videos per month? Go look at Mark Rober.
Yeah.
He only does 12 videos a year.
Yep.
One of the most brilliant storytellers on YouTube. Go check it out. He's doing it. Very, very, very good. That was an easy answer to that. When you work your full time and have a family, it's difficult to get more out. Realistically, it's about the quality of content, not the quantity of content. I do believe that you need to be consistent. Like I literally was looking through the videos that I posted last year. Two videos is what I posted. I did a lot of live streams, but it's like 2. That's all I did. That's not very consistent, but you know, that's not where my priority is at right now. My priority is at in a totally different area. But if you want to really grow, you got to be consistent. I would say monthly would be the least I would do. Every other week is still very adequate, but you can succeed on that. Now, I know we've been going for an hour and 33 minutes. I want to get one last question, and then 2, I want everyone to know I'm giving away 1 free consult. You'll see it pinned in the comment for people that ask a question. If we didn't get your question, that doesn't mean you didn't get that free consult. What I want to do is look at the questions afterwards when it comes up, and then pick one of you, just like I picked our friend right here, Love John Lovell, with his smiley little face. He won the last live stream, and I want to be able to see, hey, what are you doing? You know, was the question good? And then you can get that one-on-one with me for 1 hour, and I think it's like $700 or something like that is the value there. So. And I'll have some of my moderators go from there. But let's get one other question. I know that we've been going slow on this. All right, here we go. Our Lost. Daryl, could you give an example on how you understand a viewer with comments and what key phrases you're looking for? Yeah, I'd love to. really good question on this. I like to look for patterns. So like when someone says, they use the time code, oh, at 3 minutes, 45 seconds, epic moment. I know that they found that it's an epic moment. I can click on it, see what they're talking about, right? That's a very powerful thing. If somebody put a time code in the video, they're trying to emphasize a point than just putting a comment. So that's probably my most engaged viewers, so the people that are making it easy for other people from there. One of the most powerful comments are looking at a thread where people are responding and having a dialogue going on related to the content. Those are the most valuable things for me, is what I look at, is what's being said. Do you know what? I normally say, what's being said? Look at the trigger. Like, people are having conversations. What's going on there? I want to deep dive into that. And then maybe I need to do a video surrounding that. Generally when I do, that's when it just explodes. It's like, wow, it's really cool. Or I see a keyword or a phrase that's being used. I'll give you one that can't go into detail with the new channel that we have, but the detail last night was I saw a keyword or a phrase that was used over and over again. And I was looking in the comments, and it was like used over 100 times. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, what do we do with that? So called up the creator, who is my partner. I says, hey, what about this? He says, yeah, I noticed that too. And then I noticed this, and this. I says, exactly. That's exactly right. So how are you going to weave it into your next video? And that was the conversation of how to do better storytelling, better audience development. And we thought about a couple gimmicks and a couple things that they can do that's really going to amplify that up. So seriously, really, really love that question. Let's do one more thing here. It seems a lot to be of work with wealthy people since your rates are very high. Okay. Do you have a program for the average YouTubers with no money? Okay. So yeah, I think when you look at perspectively, the rates is really high. I want to go back to a couple slides. It's really important. It's just like value is where value's at, right? So $50,000 in one video. Okay. So was that high? Was it not? Like, I get it. Like, I understand where it's at. I'm not out there to only help the wealthy. You can go to 30-day creator challenge and do it for free. Like, you have 30 days to help you improve. And my whole goal with that is to have you make enough money that you look at the opportunity of being mentored by me. And that's where the money's more expensive. Like, I know $5,000 is not easy for a lot of people, and it's easier for some. But realistically, it's not the $5,000 that's the sticking point. There's a lot of people that will want to pay me a lot of money, and I tell them no. And the reason why is because they in the interview process, they don't have the values that I want to portray on YouTube, or they're trying to look for a quick fix instead of realizing there's a lot of work that needs to be done. They're not willing to commit to the how many hours, guys? I mean, it's crazy, crazy amount of hours, and they're not willing to commit to that. So there's not an amount of money that I'm willing to take to go from there. But if you want to go, let me just pull it up here. You can go. Let me just pull this up here, just so that you can see it.
Can I just say something to that real quick?
Yeah.
Most people do that eating out in just a few months. And for us, we were like, you know what? This is our business. This is our livelihood. And we really have to get something straightened out, or we can't continue to do it. And it's a matter of priorities. You know, I hate to say it. I know it seems like a lot of money. I mean, we're frugal living all the way, but
yeah,
you have to have priorities. And a lot of people will eat out that amount in just 2 or 3 months easy. And so you need to keep it in perspective like that.
Yeah, so you can go to 30-day creator challenge or stop getting cappuccinos at Starbucks from there. And then those that want to go into it, this is like definitely it's an application only. Channeljumpstart.com is you can get all the details and stuff from there. I got to update that video. It's like an older one, but anyway. That being said, I really do appreciate you guys coming on. I want to just take some closing thoughts with everybody on the live stream. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And any last words that you want to give them before you go?
You know, don't give up. You know, I don't know how many times a week I was like, that's it, I quit. But I knew I had something. I just didn't have the right tools to make it go. And once we actually got into the course and actually started using the tools and got focused on what we were doing, then you can see, I mean, we made more than 10 times our investment on the class. And so it's really about focus on your audience, focus on your content, and then you will stop spinning your wheels and you'll actually start taking off.
Well, and also as far as the cost, Daryl has the book. There's the 30-day challenge. We sort of stepped in.
Yeah, we
This
did
is
all of those.
Two cappuccinos right here. That's all it costs.
Yeah, and we did all of those.
And this, like from what I teach in Channel Jumpstart in this, I mean, it doesn't deviate. Like we go a lot more in depth, you know, and it's more personalized. I think that's the difference. I can't personalize it in the book, but we're able to personalize it in a mentoring program. I can get a lot deeper of, oh, no, this is what it means, because you can ask questions. But this is why I wrote the book is free, and then you can do the 30-day creator challenge for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And we sort of stepped in and said, wow, this is brilliant. We should move on to the next step. And then we talked to you, and then we're like, wow, we made so much more than it cost us in figuring out all these brain things, and just kind of the revelation and the enthusiasm and realizing we're building into our business.
Yeah.
And that's where we were thinking it's worth this.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I love seeing my students succeed. Thank you so much. And I just want to just kind of close on this. I know you all of you that are struggling right now, it's really, it's not as complicated as what you think. You're making it more complicated than what it really is. And it's just really understanding why YouTube was set up, how they find things valuable. What they find valuable is what people want to watch and keeping on the platform longer. So if they find one of your videos and binge watch your videos, that's a good indicator that you're bringing value to a viewer. YouTube will literally hunt down that right type of viewer because you're giving them exactly what they want. That's how you grow fast on YouTube. That's where you're able to see a lot of success. And they could discover you through search or external, but YouTube's looking at who is that person watching? How are they finding you? What do they do next? And so those are the elements that will really help you be successful. And ultimately, at the end of the day, go back and listen to what Tara and Mike was saying, because you know, it is like they went and did 1,600 videos before they actually started seeing success. And it was the moment that they decided, no, we need to split our audience up. We need to put the other audience on a different channel. They have 2 channels that are taking off. They're actually producing less videos and they're making a ton more money. And that could be you if you can really just find out who your audience is, what they find valuable, what they would actually give their time and energy to, and getting to the end of video, but also watching another video. That's what you're trying to do here. That will lead to more success on YouTube than any other thing. And really excited about this. If you really liked what we did here, go ahead and put it in the comments. And then also, for those that stuck on to the very end, now's the time that I'm going to be looking through your comments and picking someone that I'm going to give a free consultation to. And I'm going to pin it in the comments. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. And really excited to help you be successful on YouTube. Bye now.